We have a gentleman for round 2 here. Nope. We have a very nice opponent for round 2 here. You as well, Schmutzy. And we will in fact go first. No swamps, which is a problem, but the hand looks good otherwise. Guardian Priest and Steadfast Cathar are both pretty good. See how good Lupine Prototype is. Let's get Mecha Wolf in. Alright, we have planes and let's go. Jam with this Steadfast Cathar fast and early. I don't know when I want to play the Lupine Prototype and let my opponent know that that's what's up. I think we probably want to wait a while for getting it down. That swamp was pretty much a perfect draw, by the way. I didn't say anything about it, but that was actually fantastic. I'm going to get the Steadfast Cathar down first. A, because of removal possibilities, and B, because of the fact that it actually gets damage in, whereas the Guardian Priest probably doesn't attack all that often. Alright, let's play the Priest here. I don't really want a Boon of Emrakul, the Curious Homunculus. Oh, maybe. Card can become a threat, but it takes a bit of doing. If they get closer to the actual 3 sorceries or instants that they need, then I'll think about it. But right now I'm not that interested. Now, do I attack with the Guardian Priest? That's the big question. Maybe? I feel like they're on spells. I mean, they have Dual Shot, they have Curious Homunculus, so it's pretty likely that they have something like a Borrowed Hostility and they can just eat the Guardian Priest. I'm guessing the correct way to do this is to just play the behind the scenes, and maybe even on my opponent's upkeep, tap this Curious Homunculus so that they can't use it as a ramp that turn. Nothing at the end of turn. I'm just going to do this because I think that it shuts my opponent off of having like a 5 mana sorcery or something. Like playing like Pour Over the Pages as an example. And I'm probably not stopping anything from attacking anyways, which is the real problem that I'm going to have. I don't really care about stopping a blocker right now because I'm not attacking with the Guardian Priest. Stitchwing Scob. You bet. That seems like something I can Boon of Emrakul. Could also just play Lupine Prototype. I could Boon and Lupine. Leave down the Guardian Priest. I can actually just attack it, I guess. Alright. Boon the Stitchwing, play Lupine Prototype. Ironclad Slayer can rebuy the Boon next turn. Kind of perfect. The one problem with that is that Ironclad Slayer kind of fills our hand back up for the Lupine Prototype. If we can just get a land next turn, I can Slayer and Boon and attack the Prototype, which would be pretty awesome. I just love the art on this card, though. Mecha Wolf just getting in there. This thing is so ridiculous. I'm really hoping the card's good, because then I will take it every draft that I see it, and I'll be very, very happy to see more of this card. It just makes me grin just to see it. Alright, well, gone missing our Guardian Priest. That's fine. We've got the Prototype and the Ironclad Slayer now. It's really too bad that we have to return the Boon. Like, I don't think it makes sense to try and get in damage with the Lupine Prototype to say no to getting the Boon of Emrakul. That just seems insane. Like, that's way too deep. I'm a little worried now that our opponent gets the Homunculus flipped, because a 3/4 is pretty annoying, plus the Prowess. It's a very nice card once it's flipped, so I might just want to Boon it here if they don't trigger it. It is at the beginning of their upkeep that it triggers. I thought it was at end step, so I guess that it's a lot nicer that way at least. Let's Boon of Emrakul that down. And what does my opponent do? Turn aside. Ugh. Oh, that'll flip the Curious Homunculus as well. Nasty. I can now attack with these. Could even attack the Guardian Priest. I think I'd rather leave the Priest back, though. Opponent still has 2 cards in hand, and they're going to have 3. This is not the best position that I really wanted to be in. We've got a lot of damage on the board, but I feel like our opponent's going to have some answers for it. They've got too many cards in hand for me to feel really comfortable about this. Sacrifice the clue. Alright. And hopefully no removal spells. No removal or bounce. Uh-oh. Oh. That is something. Hard to know what. It could be... I don't know. 4 mana. Ah, Fortune's Favor. Alright, let's do that. They'll probably pick the face-down cards, and then we just give them islands instead of letting them have a mountain. That was a really horrible Fortune's Favor for them. I personally don't like this card. I've talked about it a lot. I think the card's just straight bad. You have to know that you're going to be able to basically outsmart your opponent every single time that it happens and be able to look through their bluff. If you can honestly say that you're going to know where the better pile is every single time and what your opponent's going to try and do to like bait you into a bad decision, then I guess that the card is okay, but I've had it played against me a lot, and I think that my opponents made the wrong decision based on the knowledge that I have every single time. And that says something. Like, I don't think that people are as good at figuring that out as they think they are. And it's really easy to arrange piles in such a way that there's no great pull for the opponent. And it's going to be a really, really tough choice for them to make either way. So I'm not particularly in the favor of Fortunes. Shreds of Sanity, targeting Fortune's Favor and Gone Missing. Not getting back, like, a dual shot or turn aside. Yeah, I guess. Suppose that there's nothing else that's really that relevant. Turn aside's probably not doing anything right now. And they certainly can't really care too much about dual shot with our board. Maybe, though. I mean, it does let them get prowess very easily on the Voracious Reader to stop an Ironclad Slayer or trade with Lupine Prototype. Discard an island. And what do they Gone Missing? I'm imagining that we're going to have Lupine Prototype go to the top of our library. Just tap this Voracious Reader. And I'm imagining that Gone Missing is getting played here. Certainly possible that I'm wrong. But it just seems so nice and tied in a bow with 5 untapped mana and them just having rebought it. They're thinking very hard about it. It's probably a choice between the Fortune's Favor and that. I can't imagine that they have time to Fortune's Favor, though. Actually, if they do that, they're just dead. So they'd have to have, like, a bombardment or something if they wanted a Fortune's Favor. And even if they do, then they kill Slayer, we pump Guardian Priest, and we deal 7 damage, put them to 4. That can't be a great place for them to be. See what happens here. This is the other deck that I want to do next. I'd really like to do a blue-red deck. We'll see, though. I'll put it up for voting this time. And we'll have to start doing our revisit episodes after this. Okay, there's the Gone Missing. Oh, great, they cost 1 less. Yeah. Totally forgot about that. Might as well play Lupine Prototype. Opponent knows what we have. I don't think there's any real reason to hold on to it either. We could just keep it in hand and use the behind the scenes, but that does not seem good enough. Way better to just keep tapping down my opponent's things with the Sigardian Priest, play the Lupine prototype, and wait for another opening where we can pump. There does come a point in this game, too, where the behind-the-scenes Sulk becomes really useful, and I can probably just pack away the last few points of life with the Priest instead of tapping creatures down. I can use some of the, like, 3/2s and stuff that we have, like, just randomly staying around in our deck, like the Slayer, as chump blockers for this Voracious Reader or whatever other threats our opponent has. Let the Sigardian Priest peck away the last few points of damage. Okay, so opponent sacrificed the clue. We know that they have Fortune's Favor in hand, but nothing else. 4 extra cards. Gotta think they've got something. Really, they had no way to deal with any of the cards that we had on board. Huh. That's crazy. They didn't have another creature to play. Like, even another creature just saved them. Alright, I'm liking this matchup then. Because they drew a lot of cards, and if they couldn't find an answer in all of that, then I'm feeling pretty good about where our deck is positioned here. I like the Cryptolith Fragment a lot against this opponent, actually. It's another way to have a bit of reach at the end of the game when they're going to be trying to like slow us down and just stall us out, and we can just Cryptolith Fragment, and it's really hard for them to deal with because they're going to have bounce spells and burn spells, but they're not really going to have a way to destroy artifacts. So I think Cryptolith seems nice. What doesn't seem good? Things like Equipment are a little bit worse because of the bounce spells. They showed us Gone Missing and used it a bunch of times. So I could take out the Cultist Staff. I could also just take out Behind the Scenes. It did not do enough against this opponent. They don't have a lot of creatures, so Sulk seems a lot worse. I could have just gone wide anyways, like it didn't really ever matter that we had Sulk. So I think I like the Fragment over the Behind the Scenes this time. We'll go with that, see where we end up. And this hand, whew. I think we can keep this. We have 2 2-drops, we're on the draw. Yeah, this is an easy keep, actually, now that I look at it a little closer. I was like, well, we can only play, like, 2 cards, but, I mean, Grifspoon we can put onto one of them afterwards, and we only need 1 card to make Vampire Noble and Spectral Shepherd turn on, and now Bound by Moonsilver, so this looks really good, actually. Wharf Infiltrator, oh, goodness. That card is insane. Hopefully, they don't have a way to deal with Sigardian Priest, and I can just stop it for now, and then we draw land and Boon of Emrakul it away. That would be ideal. I really would like a land here. Even if they have removal, it's hopefully going to cost more than 1 mana, and that means that they would not be able to use the Wharf Infiltrator's, you know, discarding a creature card, pay 2 ability. Not happy about letting them loot, period, but at least this is slightly better. Come on, land. And what does the opponent discard? This card is so sweet. I love the art, too. Just poking his head out from underneath the wharf. Well, that's unfortunate. We had a really good chance of drawing a land in those 3 turns. This hand seemed like a fine keep. Just, I think we're getting a little bit unlucky here. Now Wharf Infiltrator is all the way on. Not where I want to see it. Nothing I can do about it now, though. We just gotta hope to draw land. If we draw land, we're still very much in this game. The big problem is, you know, gotta draw hot. And that's always been a bit of a problem for us. What do we have here? I think that they just discard as many extra creatures as you can, because you just get value off of them anyways. Maybe not. Scour the laboratory. Ooh, alright. Gotta have a 4-drop then if they're discarding this. I can't imagine they've used Wharf Infiltrator twice and they have nothing to play. Just a counterspell? Maybe the Turn-Aside. Oh, I'm gonna see. Let's go for the boon. Nope. Alright. Worked out fine. I feel like I just want to attack the Steadfast Cathar. What could they have for 4 mana? Could kill Sigardian Priest. I don't want to find out. I'm just going to leave it back. I feel like there's something that they can play at instant speed that I'm forgetting. There's like something nagging at the back of my mind that I feel like I should remember that they could maybe play, flash in and get us with. Gone Missing. Yeah, that's pretty brutal for us right here because of how mana screwed we've been. Gone Missing is really nasty. We're only on 2 points of damage right now, though, so it's... I mean, I say it's nasty, but I guess that it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to play the Sigardian Priest yet. I'd rather just get down some more damage here. So we'll play the Vampire Noble, attack the Steadfast Cathar, and we're off to the races. Next turn, I can put Griff's Boon onto the Vampire Noble and play the Sigardian Priest. Or if I draw land, I can Spectral Shepherd and Griff's Boon. Have to see what happens. But we want to put our opponent under a lot of pressure here because they've got the later game. We want them to just be on the back foot the whole time and have to use cards like Gone Missing defensively and for not a whole lot of value. Curious Homunculus. Yeah, probably don't care too much about that. And does Stitch Mangler get in? I'm thinking it should stay back. It does. Could Collective Effort and put +1/+1 counters on both of my creatures, which is certainly a thing. Could also play Oath of Liliana, but then they just let the Curious Homunculus... Oh, actually, maybe they don't sacrifice Curious Homunculus. They'd probably sacrifice Stitch Mangler. Curious Homunculus would stay alive, and then we can Bound by Moonsilver it? Kind of like the Oath of Liliana now. Now that I'm realizing this is flipping, I actually like that. It lets us get in this turn for 5, and they kind of need to take it. I don't imagine they sacrifice the Curious Homunculus, and if they do, I don't think I'm sad about that either. My opponent just decides to get rid of this and keep Stitch Mangler. I'm A-okay with it. Yeah. Smash in. Opponent takes some extra damage. And hopefully we get a land. I'd love to play Griff's Boon and the Bound by Moonsilver. I feel like our opponent has to have a Rise from the Tide somewhere in their deck. Although maybe they just never found one. They could have been trying to go for that and just not ended up with it. But they're really heavy into sorceries and instants. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at the blue-red deck, though, and I haven't really come across it too often. I've seen a couple of very, very light versions in Sealed, but I haven't really seen like the full-on spells deck that people are talking about, so I guess that I don't know all of the payoff cards anymore. Discard Stitchwing Scob. That's pretty sweet. You can just rebuy it. They have a lot of extra cards in hand, so I can definitely see that happening right away. Might even Madness and Lean Out. Geist of the Archives. Yeah, that's nasty. Good blocker for all of our ground crew here. If we get a land, it won't matter, though, because of the Griff's Boon. That's the hope. Attacking with Voracious Reader. Opponent just does not care about our stuff. Well, Awkward. Feel like I just Griff Spoon the Vampire Noble, play the Sigardian Priest, and go from there. Hope to draw land next turn, then we can do something else. Either Gavony Unhallowed, or just bound something. I guess that it really doesn't matter too much if we draw land next turn now, because I'm probably not playing Gavony Unhallowed. We missed out on our chances to actually curve out properly. One of the important things about Geist the Archives is, yes, it's a spirit, but it doesn't fly, so Vampire Noble still just gets in there. It is a good card, though. Gonna have a bit of trouble getting around it. And the scry is pretty relevant, I imagine. I need to make sure and see where my opponent's putting these cards, just so I have an idea of where the game's at. Put a card on top. Oof. Not great, then. I don't know if I want to chump the Voracious Reader yet. I might. I have to worry a little bit about like an Uncaged Fury on it. Something like that. Maybe some burn spells. We haven't seen anything for burn from our opponent yet, but I can't imagine they don't have any in their deck. I definitely think they have like one or two pieces somewhere. Shreds of Sanity. Grabbing the Scour and the Gone Missing. Sure. They can play either one. I'm thinking they're just going to Gone Missing the Vampire Noble and attack for 5. It just puts us so far back. We've had so much trouble drawing land this game, and then they can just put us back again, make it so we can't get ahead on board again by making it so we have no land. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Discard Abandon Reason. Not Madnessing it. Okay. So they're just going to do the Gone Missing then, for sure, if they're not going to use that. That tells me scary things are happening in my opponent's hand, because we know they have the Scour the Laboratory and the Gone Missing, so what's their last card if they're discarding Abandon Reason? Card seems pretty good. I guess it's not that great if we're just using Sigardian Priest to tap down Voracious Reader over and over. Yep. Voracious Reader's getting in. I think at this point we just chump block. It's not getting around the Geist of the Archives anytime soon, and I don't want our opponent to burn us out. Yep, Gone Missing Vampire Noble. You got it, boss. Boy, I'd like to have more than 3 lands on turn 8. Do I Bound by Moonsilver the Voracious Reader? That's really the question. Or do I just play Vampire Noble, take my bumps, and try and tap it down later? I think I just bound it. Let's get rid of it for now. And turn aside. Yep. Gross. Opponent scries and bottom. I guess that's a slight nice thing here. Drag under, sure. Now I think we just lose to this Voracious Reader. We don't have any more answers. We've lost the Boon and the Bound by Moonsilver. They have the Scour the Laboratory. Oh yeah, Thermo Alchemist will put the nail in the coffin for sure. I can't beat that card. Not with the way our hand is right now. Yeah. Still didn't draw land. Nasty. So we drew 1 land that whole game. I mean, sure, 2 of our draws were taken up by Gone Missing, but god, that was brutal. If we'd actually hit our 3rd land onto curve, I think that we were really good for the rest of the game, but it got rough the minute we missed that land. Alright, well, I'm just going to jam it back. I think that we did what we needed to do. I don't really like any of the other sideboard cards that we had. So we'll jam again, and mulligan again immediately. Right. And mulligan again. I don't think I can keep this hand. This hand's pretty miserable. Blessed Alliance does seem good, because our opponent's going very deep on just Voracious Reader, from what we've seen. But no black, no creatures, like, ugh. Some mulligan again. Wow. Oh, this is fun. Yikes. This is really not where we wanted to be. If I draw land, then I can play Lupine Prototype and call the Bloodline. I guess that this is a keep. Bottom that, and now we just go to Hope. Try and draw land at some point. And it has to be very early. Nope. I think that the dream is dead. Yeah, Wharf Infiltrator on turn 2. Maybe I have a chance. It's not great, but it's something. Let's play Call the Bloodline first. I can discard Griff's Boon if I get a land and play the Lupine Prototype. And at least gives me a blocker for Wharf Infiltrators. They can't keep looting every turn. This is real miserable, though. I don't see this ending very well for us. Mulliganing twice on the play, and then immediately having your opponent get something that gives them a large hand advantage through card selection is not where I want to be. I'm just going to make a creature off that. Yep. Get a freebie. And no land. Now might be a time to just start discarding to Call the Bloodline. At least stop Wharf Infiltrator. Eventually it means that we get Lupine Prototype. I'll discard Collective Effort and Griff's Boon, I guess. Oof. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to end up getting any better here. I'm trying to think of like what I can draw at this point to actually try and win the game. Discard the Griff's Boon. I don't think that I want to block the Eldrazi Horror. I'm just going to wait. So what else can we discard now? Alright, we got our land. So we could Boon of Emrakul away the Curious Homunculus or the Wharf Infiltrator. I think we just get the Curious Homunculus. Card's been a problem in all the games that it's been down, so I'll get rid of it for now. Keep the Vampire Knight around to block the Wharf Infiltrator. Dual shot? Nope, 2 mana. What would this be? Feel like they're killing the Vampire Knight. Although I could be wrong. Oh, they're just rebuying Stitchwing Scob. Okay. Discard Abandoned Reason in a land, and get the Scob back. We're still way behind, but it's a little closer now. It's not great. I mean, we do take 6 here, go to 10. So we're at half their life total, and we still have less cards in hand because of our mulligans, but this is a better position. Despite all of that, this is actually still a better position than we were in earlier. Just kind of sad and telling. Play the land, and then I can play Vampire Noble. That can trade with the Eldrazi Horror. And discard the Concerted Effort, or Collective Effort, to the Call the Bloodline. I want the land down because it'll let us rebuy the Griff's Boon. And that does seem pretty important. It'll let us, like, block Stitchwing Scob. I guess I could just play the land and rebuy the Griff's Boon right now anyways. take 3 from that, but we do get to kill the Stitchwing Scob. The big problem with that is if our opponent has any kind of removal spell, then we're just hosed. Plus, they might see through it and just attack with Wolf Infiltrator at that point. I mean, it's not even much to see through. It's just sitting there on board. Alright, let's get Vampire Noble down and pass. Attack with the Knight. We need to gain some life back here, and I don't think our opponent's going to block with Wharf Infiltrator. Plus, they can't really attack back whether we decide to discard or not. Because they don't know if we're going to discard. They'd have to have a removal spell, and I mean, if at this point, if our opponent has removal for like our Vampire Knights, like a dual shot, then we're basically just already dead. I can't worry too much about that. Tap the Vampire Noble. Yep. We take a lot of damage. 8. Go to 3, and if we're lucky, our opponent doesn't have a Fiery Temper or a Pump spell to kill us. But I don't think we're living through this turn. I'm not going to block the Eldrazi Horror here. I feel like we're just going to lose any game where our opponent has like a Fiery Temper anyways, and chump blocking's not going to dig us out of this hole. I'd really like it if my opponent had nothing. This might just be a discarding the Lupine prototype moment. Collective Effort puts a bunch of +1/+1 counters on the vampires. Problem with that, of course, being that we need 1 to block the Wharf Infiltrator. I guess I can discard after we Collective Effort, which is not really where I want to be, but ooh, wow, Spectral Reserves was a sick draw. So we can attack with the Vampire Noble and both of the Knights. Play the Spectral Reserves, have blockers for Stitchwing and Wharf. Or both of those. I don't want to attack with... I'm not sure I want to attack with both the Vampire Knight tokens. Maybe I just attack with the... Maybe just the tokens and leave the Vampire Noble back to trade with the Eldrazi Horror. I would like to trade with this, and soon. Alright, I think that makes sense. We do go up to 5 with the Spectral Reserves as well, unless our opponent counters it, which is a very real possibility. They did show us Convolute last game. Is this getting countered? If it is, we're dead. Yeah. Alright. Well, there wasn't really anything we could do about that. We mulliganed down to a pretty terrible hand. We did what we could, but ultimately our opponent just had the spells. Alright, well, that was interesting. I thought the deck was decent. It's not amazing by any means. I don't think it was the best example of a really good white-black deck, but we'll see where we end up with it later. I liked Lupine prototype, surprisingly enough. I thought it was kind of neat. With Call the Bloodline, I thought it was pretty reasonable in this hand. I mean, we just didn't have time to go off with it because we just didn't have time to do anything. We were under a ton of pressure and super mana screwed the whole game, so that made it a lot worse. But the cards seemed like... It's not great, but it doesn't seem unplayable. I'll have to play with it a little bit more, but it was fun to test with it. In any case, this is our version of Full Force this week, and I appreciate all of you guys stopping by and watching, so thanks for sticking around, and I'll be back next Thursday with another edition of Full Force. See you later! So we're going to try and see if we can get cards like that, wheel them late. I think that it's going to be tough, because from what I understand, a lot of people are really trying to force this archetype. Well, I can splash it, right?